Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Categorically Romance podcast. My name is Bree, and I am joined today by special guest Melissa. Melissa, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your role in Harlequin.
As you said, I'm Melissa Endlich. Thank you so much for having me, Brie. I'm so excited to be here. I'm the senior editor for Love Inspired Books. I've been part of Love Inspired and Harlequin forever, since 1999. So honestly, any questions you're going to have, shoot them my way. I am ready.
I'm so excited. Okay, here we go. Let's get into icebreakers. If you, Melissa, came with a warning label, what would it say?
What a great question. Okay, my warning label would be must feed. Do not forget to feed her, because my friends and family will tell you that if I get hungry, I get cranky, I am not fun to be around. So you've got to remember to get me lunch or dinner or something.
Okay, well, I can't wait. There's a question later on in the chat that I can't wait to hear your answers to. Okay. What Tell me the last song that got stuck in your head.
Okay. This past weekend, I was visiting with my brother and his family, and my niece, who's 11. I was helping her clean out her bedroom, and so look, a tween girl, you can only imagine what this bedroom looked like. And so I'm handing her stuff and we're cleaning up the floor and everything. And literally, all of a sudden, the song that came into my head was the happy working song from Enchanted, from the movie Enchanted.
Oh.
And then, funnily enough, so she was having a sleepover for her birthday, and all the girls then they sat and watched Enchanted in the living room. So it was just perfect. And I haven't been. It's been in my head ever since. And so I think I need to watch the movie at some
Yeah, it's
point.
a sign. It's a sign. Well, what is one gift you happily treated yourself to this year?
So it was a gift to me. It may seem like it's kind of boring, but I live in Queens, in New York, in Astoria, and I've been living in my apartment for forever. And my mattress had been here for forever as well. So my big gift to me this year was I bought myself a mattress and a bed frame, and I actually got a really pretty nightstand. And I basically just walked into Raymore and Flanagan and was like, "Help me!" And they set me up really nice. So I stopped work for the day and I just kind of flop on my bed, and it's just oh, and it's a queen size too. Like I
Oh.
upgraded from a full to a queen, and so it's just so nice.
There are no boring gifts, and that is not a boring gift, okay? Like, walking into your space with all new furniture for you, I love it. I love that for you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well, my favorite question to ask, tell us how you became a romance reader.
Totally. I love this question. So, when I was a little girl, I noticed my mom. My mom was a huge reader growing up. She would take me to the library. She'd take me to the used bookstores and bookstores. So I come by it naturally. And my mom would have these books lying around the house. And the one I remember was a book by Kathleen Woodowis. I think it was Shanna, it was called. I want to say I was probably too young to read it, but I must have snatched it off the bookshelf and was like under the covers with the flashlight, as a lot of us, young readers do. And honestly, I was hooked. I was just like, this is the stuff for me. Like and especially historical romance, like especially because it was at the 70s and 80s. That was kind of the only thing that I was aware of back then. But once I got also to college, it's funny. My freshman year college roommate gifted me a Johanna Lindsay for Christmas. Was it Tender Rebel? It was one of the ones where it was like the super sexy cover and step back and everything. And I was just like, what is this? This is, like, come on, forget it. Like, that was the end of it. Like, me and Johanna Lindsay and all of those kinds of things. Yeah, it's been a romance with the romance books with me ever since.
Yeah. So do you still read a ton of historicals?
Um, Honestly, since the pandemic, my reading habits have changed dramatically. I still love them, but I haven't been reading as much for pleasure as I really used to. I realized once we started working from home full time that I did so much of my reading on my commute to and from work on the subway. Um, I feel like only in the last couple of months have I gotten back into reading for pleasure again, which I'm thrilled about, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was actually chatting with a friend about that too. Like, even us just as readers, it's like I used to get so much reading done when I was driving to and from work or even like at work. And now, like with pandemic life, it's like even though we're home so much more, it's like I feel like I don't read nearly as much as I did when I was like on the go. So I don't know. It's
Totally.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I've become one of those like TV zombies. I hate to say it like
Yes.
that, but I stare at a laptop screen all day. And then like anybody else, I'm staring at my phone screen all day. And so I just want to like veg out at the TV screen after work, you know.
Same. Yes.
Which is why I would say like during the summer, like so what is it, September? So I would say June, July, all of a sudden I was like, I need real books and I need to read things not on a screen. So I've been actually getting into reading some historical fiction, which I know I'm always kind of behind the curve on things. Like I know like it's been a big deal for the last few years, but I've started reading some like World War II historical fiction, which is really like hitting the spot for me. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I used to only read historical fiction like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago,
Oh
and
wow.
I miss it. I actually just filled out a survey that a publicist sent to me like, "Hey, what's the deal with historical fiction?" And I'm like, I don't wanna be, like, the bad guy," but, like, I just felt like at some point it became a little, like, oversaturated with certain time periods, but
Oh, it's
when you
totally, yeah.
when you find a good historical fiction, especially like a specific author, like I love this. There's a Canadian author, Susanna Kearsley. I
Mhm.
will read whatever whatever that woman puts out. But I mean, she also incorporates like time travel and reincarnation. Like you don't know what you're gonna get,
Oh,
but
that's
like
awesome.
yeah, she just delivers with the historical. I just was like, you know what? I do miss this genre. I do miss it. So I don't know. Especially with the fall, maybe I'll get back into it.
Yeah, it's something about the fall and the weather. It's a little cooler. You want something a little cozy, to snuggle up with. I don't know why historical fiction sounds like it would be
Yeah.
cozy, but like to me, it just does. I don't
It
know.
is, yeah, it is, it is. Well, okay, at what point in your life so you're in college, your friends gifted you a Johanna Lindsay. Is it in college that you're like, "Okay, I wanna work in the world of romance publishing?" Like, how did that happen, and how did working for Harlequin happen?
Well, right. So I graduated from school. I went to the State University of New York in Binghamton, and I graduated in 1991. And unfortunately, it was kind of like a recession back in those days. And so I graduated from college. I didn't have a job. I was kind of temping around. I ended up getting a job at Reader's Digest down in New York City, at their general book division. And I was kind of like, getting my feet wet, in publishing in general, figuring out how to work in an office, figuring out, how to be an editorial assistant, working with people. It was actually terrific. So I worked there for about 5 or 6 years, and I was always reading. Like I read a ton of all the Avon historical romances, and then when I got laid off from Reader's Digest, I didn't have the money to buy the books anymore, like the romance books. And so what ended up happening was I was going to the library, right? And I had finished all of the like Avons and the stuff that I kind of knew, the publishers I knew. And all of a sudden I've been noticing this other publisher. And I was reading all these books and reading all these books. And I would say it was 6 months after I got laid off in 1998. I applied for a job from the physical New York Times because they used to run help wanted ads in the New York Times back in
No
the olden
way.
days.
Oh my god.
Help wanted, it said. Picture it, 1999. So yeah, so I applied for a job and it was Harlequin Books. And I got to talk to Tracy Farrell, who was the executive editor of Harlequin Historicals at the time, and we're chatting and I'm telling her about myself, and she brings out these books, a pile of books, and I take one look at them and I say, oh my gosh, I have been reading, I read the entire pile she put there on the table, because those were the books I had been taking out from the
From
library
the
and reading.
library,
So it was
yeah.
like, I'm telling you, Brie, it was meant to be. I got the job like immediately. It was perfect. And what's funny is that, so I was working, half my job was working on Harlequin Historicals, which was still based out of the New York office editorial group, and half on this brand new program called Love Inspired, which at that time in 1999 was only 3 books a month, the contemporary lines. And, I wasn't working, I wasn't in charge of it. Tracy was in charge of it. But, I got to know those books, these short, contemporary, inspirational romances featuring Christian characters, and, got my feet wet with that. And it was just funny. It was like meant to be, that I'd read those books. They saw I read those books, and it was like, yep, welcome aboard. And I've been there. Been over 20 years now. I've been with Harlequin. I'm a lifer,
Yeah.
basically.
Oh,
They'll have
this
to
is
pry
so
the books out of my
exciting.
cold, dead hands. But
I
yeah.
know. I just love hearing about that moment where it's like, she put the books down and I'd read all of them. Like, yes. This is something I find really fascinating, and it may be totally hard to explain, but in your experience, I mean, you've been in the game now for some time.
Mhm.
How do you learn how to edit a book? Like, do you remember the first time a book was put in front of you and it's like, okay, it's my job to edit this? How do you know what to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question, Bree. Um, so basically, I don't remember the first time I had to edit a book, but now as senior editor, we have been having a string of interns every year or so. And what ends up happening is you first have to read books, you have to read the manuscripts, you have to kind of learn what is a, like, I don't want to say a perfect book, but like, what are we looking for, right? What are all the elements that should be in this book? And then you should be reading and looking over manuscripts that other people have edited. Okay. So, and I think we'll go into this later, but it's like, depending on the production process, where they are, so I'll give the intern a manuscript and I'll have done the edit, and we do everything on screen, it's all electronic now. So she can get a sense of, what I look for, what are the things that I will call out, things that I will say, good job, I love this. Or sometimes when I edit a book, I'll put in little comments of things that will actually evoke emotion in me, like if I'm reading something and, the hero and heroine say something or do something and I get all choked up, I'll put it like, not an emoji, but like the editorial version of an emoji, like this is great, my LOL or something like that, just to give some positive feedback. I hate to be all negative feedback with my authors, but it's just kind of a learning process, and like it's kind of like watch what I do and then give it a try. And everybody edits differently. Everybody looks for different things. You know what I mean? Like nobody, I feel like no two editors are the same. But yeah, it's just kind of a process of trying to figure out, especially for new people coming in, like what elements should be there, what elements aren't there, and trying to be nice about telling the authors, because you don't want, like, think about it. If you were the author, you wouldn't want somebody to say, you're missing this, like, where is this? You want to be like, well, you might think about putting this in here. Or I was actually just doing an edit a couple of hours before we're chatting, and I think I might have put in a comment into a manuscript being like, maybe we want to move this section over here. Let's wait a while to tell the readers this, like there are all kinds of ways to kind of do it.
So take us through the beginning stages, from the beginning stages to the book being on the shelf. And from your end, what does that process look like? So I've written this manuscript and you now have it by some probably process that I've completely left out of the process. But like, Take us through what that looks like for you.
I mean, actually, the good news about Harlequin series books in general, if your readers don't know or not, is that you actually don't even need an agent. You personally could just email me your manuscript and say, "Hey, Melissa, I'm Bree. I'm this author. Here's my manuscript. Please read it." That kind of thing. So yeah, I'll read. Editorial in general, we read manuscripts, we kind of analyze. We're like, okay, does this fit the line that I'm working on? And for me, I work on Love Inspired.
Mhm.
And I think, yep, this works. This is strong enough. I love the writing. I think all the elements that I'm looking for are there. And then I will get in contact with the author and say, hi, I want to make a contract offer. I want to buy your book, one book contract for X amount. And then I'll say, like, I want you to do the revisions possibly and get them to me by this date. Okay. And then when the manuscript most of the time the manuscript comes in and then we read it again and we do what's called an acceptance read to make sure it is acceptable, which 9 times out of 10 it's acceptable to publish, right? Then what we do is we schedule the book. And what scheduling I mean, we'll put it in the month of March 2024.
Mhm.
And once a book is scheduled, that means it comes with all of these different deadlines, right? And so let's say March 2024. All right. So before the book can even get worked on and edited, we ask the authors to fill out what we call an art fact sheet. This is the author's chance to tell us what the book's about in a nutshell, right? Like kind of give me an elevator pitch. What's this book's about? Give me a little mini synopsis. Tell me what the characters look like and what their idea of what the cover should be. Okay. And then we also ask for kind of photos like, okay, tell me, like, does the hero look like Matt Damon? Does the heroine look like Kate Blanchett? All of that kind of stuff. And photos that illustrate their ideas for at least 3 scenes. And then we look those over. I call for my line, Love Inspired, we do 6 books a month. So I ask all 6 of the authors to do that for their books. I look them over, and then editorial gets together with marketing and art, and we talk about these books. And I do pre-work before that, of course, to kind of figure things out. But we're like, okay, well, we've got 2 Amish books this month, we've got a cowboy book this month, and then we've got a book with a baby. And then what do we do for the other 2 books? We kind of talk it all through and figure it out to kind of have a variety, because it shouldn't be, 2 Amish books looking the same and like 2 cowboy books. There's gotta be variety in the month, because you don't want to go to Walmart or Kmart or somewhere else, and look at the rack and they should all look the same, right? A month after we finish doing the art fact sheet information is when we do the line edit. So I will work on the manuscript. I will, edit things, and then I send that to copy editing. Copy editing works their magic up in Toronto, or freelancers. They send them out to freelancers. And then I would say 2 or 3 weeks later, I'll get an email. And we have a system that we send this stuff, we route this stuff back and forth. And then I'll get an email that says, hey, your manuscript just came back from copy editing. And it pops up into the system. I look at it. They do an amazing job of like pointing out things that I might have missed, noticing repetition, all kinds of stuff, spelling and all that, and grammar and stuff that I try to get that stuff when I'm doing the line edit, but I'm not perfect, and that's why we have several sets of eyes looking at the manuscript. So my process is I look over this copy edit, and then I send that. So the manuscript that has both my line edit and the copy edit, I send that to the author. And I say, hey, look this over. You've got a week and a half. Answer the questions, make any notes or things that we've noted to you. And then they send that back to me. I will then look that through, make sure as best I can in the time frame that they have done what I asked, answered questions, made changes, etc., etc. And then I will incorporate all the changes, accept changes, and send them back a clean copy to do a final proofread. Once they've done that, they send that back to me. At that point for the author, it's generally minor changes. They send those back, I accept that, and then I send that off to copy editing or typesetting, I believe. I don't see the manuscript after that. After that, it goes to typesetting. I believe it gets 2 rounds of proofreading.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then, oh my goodness, what happens after that? Then it's I mean, it during all that time, of course, the covers are made, the back cover copy is written, all that stuff. So, believe they typeset the book. Sometimes we actually get queries. The editors sometimes get queries from the proofreaders because they find these little nitpicky things. Thank goodness for them, you know. So
Mhm.
that's good. We look those over. But honestly, after that, out of sight, out of mind, and then I don't know, what is it, 6 or 7 months later, suddenly there's a book created, and we have our printer up in Buffalo, Harlequin Distribution Center, and so that's where all of the information goes up there, and they get printed up there. But yeah, it takes about, I believe, for love-inspired books and like most of the Harlequin series and categories, 9 months, 10 months from beginning to end. I believe. I could be
Oh
wrong.
my gosh.
Yeah,
I
it's it.
love and I love Love Inspired's covers, like, The Secret Between Them, I just love there's this couple, they're walking, the background is gorgeous, the new Danica favorite, the cover is
Oh.
gorgeous, like, I'm like, some authors just, like, giving them a scene and they're nailing it with the cover. So
Well,
who does, like, the back, like, the summary on the back? Is that you or is it someone else?
the summary on the back is what we call back cover copy or just copy. And all the editors of each book fill out a form, right? And we send these forms, like, so it's information, like like what angle should the copy take? What focus should the copy be? And our copy is actually rather short. Like, if you've ever looked on the back cover, it's just this little blurb. It's like a two-liner, a shout line, and then like a 70-word blurb, and then we have like a front cover tagline, all tying together. And we send all of that stuff out to freelancers to do. Back in the day, when I was just a babe in the woods, we used to write our own copy. But now we're so super busy. We have wonderful freelancers. Some of them former Harlequin employees who write copy for us. They do an amazing job. But I have a question for you, Bree. I know I'm
Mhm.
turning the tables here.
Okay.
So you said you Danica favorite, right? You like look
Yes.
at our books, you like our covers. Have you noticed that there's any similarities between our covers? Like, is there some like through thread with these covers? I'm just curious if you've noticed this.
I don't know, I really love I think the thing that gets me is, like, a lot of times it's just the color scheme, like,
Hmm.
I love the blue, I love that a lot of what I'm seeing with Love Inspired is, like, outside scenes. Uh,
Yes, that's
yeah,
it.
okay,
Exactly. They're
okay.
outdoor scenes. Yes, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say 99%. That's what kind of sets us apart from the other category lines. At least, it used to. I think some of the other lines do it too. Yeah, we have outdoor scenes. Sometimes I think for our Amish covers, we feel like we can get away with like indoor scenes, say of like Amish women holding like baked goods and stuff, or quilts and
Yeah,
things. But in
the
general,
cooking
yeah,
scenes, yeah.
but for love inspired, it's outdoors, it's landscapey sometimes. It's like, I want to say, gorgeous skies and beautiful
Yes.
colors. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I
Our
mean, Love
we
Inspired Suspense too, it's always something, like, outdoorsy, but, like,
Mhm.
suspenseful. I love
Yes.
them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think once in a blue moon they'll have people on the cover, but in general it's like their landscapes and like, we don't call them iconic, but like their houses and like very active, very like suspensey looking things. And then they have their best-selling stuff is the Canine Continuity series, and so they always have like dogs on their cover at some point. Those are hugely popular with
Yeah,
our readers.
I love that it's outside and then it's always, like, these pretty blues and yellows and purples, like, I don't know, they're just
Abs-
gorgeous,
Totally.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole process you just described, how many books at a time are you doing that with?
Me personally, for Love Inspired, we do 6. And
So you're
then
working on 6 at a time.
I mean, God willing, I have not scheduled all 6 books of my authors. It's generally like a few of them, but I
Okay.
oversee, as senior editor, I oversee the line, and so I'm overseeing, yeah, the 6 books. Sometimes I do have 3 or 4, and that's a lot in one month to deal with. I do send stuff out to be with help from freelancers, but no, you know what? Like, Love Inspired has 6 books a month we put out. Love Inspired Suspense has 6 books a month we put out. And then then our team is so popular, our books are so popular that we've started doing much longer books that we do every other month, Love Inspired Trade, and those are not category books. They're like regular big trade books. So women's fiction and historical
Oh my
fiction
gosh. The
and
Gathering Table.
yeah,
Did I read that this year? I think I read it at the beginning of this year. I
Catherine
loved
Springer.
that book. I
She's
loved it.
amazing.
Yes.
I'm so glad. Yeah, we were so lucky to get her to write for us. Like it's and that cover, like, don't you just want to sit at
The
that table
Table.
and
Yes,
ah,
yes, yeah. I'm like, "Is
amazing.
she gonna write? Are we gonna get another book?" Like, I need something in that world still. I cried so hard at the end of that book when I realized who she named the restaurant. It was good. It was so good.
Well, here's a scoop for you. We just signed her up to do a Christmas, I think it's October 2023 book for us. I cannot I don't know exactly if it's set in that world from the Gathering Table, but I would probably guess it will be. So,
Okay.
stay tuned, readers.
I know. Either way, we will be there. Okay, so I'm always like poking around on the Right for Harlequin website, and I have some questions based
Yes.
off of stuff that I saw there. So on there, you all share that the hero and heroine should meet early, preferably by the end of chapter one, and remain in each other's presence throughout most of the books. Do you have any tips for getting the characters on page together early in the story?
That's a great question. So, first of all, the books are short, Bree. They're like only 50 to 55,000 words. So, that's kind of our reasoning as to why we like the hero and heroine to kind of meet cute in chapter 1. Because we know in general, like when you're reading any kind of book, it usually takes about 2 or 3 chapters for that to happen. But honestly, 3 chapters in, it's almost a third of the book for us. And so we have been adamant that we want them to meet in chapter 1. Honestly, I mean, it can be as simple as they bump into each other when the heroine's coming, to the small town to like hang out with her grandmother and take care of her or something. Or the hero's hiring a nanny to take care of his kids and she comes to the front door and knocks and boom, there she is. Like don't I always say to authors, don't overthink it. It can be as simple as that, really.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you said that. Yeah, I think I'll be honest, like reading category has like changed the game for me. Like when I'm reading just like a regular traditional romance, sometimes I'm like, we are 3 chapters in and they're just now meeting. Like we should have met in chapter one. And it's like,
Oh, totally. Oh my God, are you kidding? Like now that I'm reading like longer books, right? Like historical fiction, I'm like, what is taking so
yes.
long? It's like you're reading muscle. Like it's just you've got to shift into a different gear to be able to be like, "Oh, it shouldn't just happen right away." Or,
Yeah.
"Oh, why is it taking so long? It should happen right away." kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I
so
don't want to be
funny.
that person, but I'm like, I don't need all this fluff. Get them on the page in chapter one and let's go.
You are so
It
that
works.
person. What are you saying?
Give me what I want, okay? Like I don't need all of this. So another thing you all talk about on there is I think my personal just favorite, like why I love reading romance, just the internal conflict. So can you talk about the internal conflict needing to push the hero and heroine apart, even as the circumstances of the plot push them together?
When I think of internal conflict, I think of emotional conflict, right? Like it's what they're feeling. Often when I'm reading manuscripts and I'm reading, proposals and helping the authors, I kind of say to them, I was like, okay, like what is keeping them from jumping into a relationship right away from the get-go, Like what is the reason that they should not be together? Don't overthink it, authors, Is there emotional backstory, like so you have a heroine who, she just got broken up by this guy. She thought he was the one, and it turns out he was two timing her with somebody, and he literally just got married. And now she's miserable and she's going to go back to her small town. Well, of course, she's not going to jump into a new relationship right away.
Right.
She's still, nursing her broken heart. And here's this reunion romance with, someone she knows from high school. Well, maybe they're thrown together because he's got to help him out. She's going to help him out taking care of his kids. Well, she might fall in love with the kids, but of course she's going to hold her heart back because she's not going to be falling for, any man ever again. And it could be the same thing with the hero. You know what I mean? Like maybe his wife left him and now he's the single dad with kids. So who is he going to trust? He's not going to trust her again.
I'm just thinking of like, oh my gosh, like Miss Belle Calhoun. I think of her, I think of Danica's books, like so many, just that internal, like you said, the emotional conflict, like just it's so good. You're like, clearly you two are made for each other, but you're both nursing whatever wound and we just are trying not to do it, but like we know, like we need to be together. Like we need to give this a
Absolutely.
try. Yes.
Oh no, for sure. I've worked with authors who give good angst. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
like that is one of my favorite things in the entire world. I love what I call a wounded hero, an angsty hero. Like he's just like, I am never falling in love ever again. I'm so miserable because of XYZ. And then here comes the heroine, and it's just like he cannot help but fall.
Yeah.
I blame Harlequin and I blame romance novels for my single status, by the way. I think it's all of these heroes that has ruined me in my relationships. Because in real life, you're like, oh, you're so angsty. Oh, no, you're horrible.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
can't live with this.
The standards and expectations that these
Oh,
books
my
have given
word.
to us,
I'm
okay?
telling you. Can I just say, one of my best friends got married like 14 years ago, and I remember sitting at the table. I was the maid of honor, picture it. And so I'm sitting at the table at some point, and one of her friends from college was sitting next to me. This guy, and he's like, "Oh, hi. What do you do for a living?" And I told him, and he stopped and paused and looked at me, and he said out loud, he's like, men are not like that in real life, don't you?" And I laughed my head off, and I was like, "What? What? Oh my god! What? No! How can that?" I was like, "Yeah, I get it."
I feel like you are the heroine in a rom-com that we all need, okay? That moment right
It's too bad he wasn't single, or
there.
else that would have been a meet cute.
The
Uh,
romance editor, like, maid of honor at a wedding, telling this guy what she does, and him like, "Oh god, it's just awful."
right. If it was a rom com, then we would have been. It would have been an enemies to lovers story, right?
Yeah.
Like it would have been like, "Oh, I hate you, but let's go dance at the
Yeah.
wedding." Oh gosh.
Well, the Christian faith element should feel natural. This is another point on the website. Do you have any advice for aspiring writers who may listen on how to write the faith element naturally and avoid being too preachy?
Absolutely. So, our books, we call our books inspirational. They feature Christian characters. They're kind of these wholesome, emotional stories. What we're looking for is a non denominational kind of faith. So, we're looking for Christians, but, we don't want, you to tell us, okay, they're Baptist, they're, Lutheran. It's just like our authors and our editors, we kind of like to, like, if you've ever seen some of our covers, we put these little white churches on our covers, and that's kind of like it's an old fashioned type of faith element. It's an
Mhm.
old fashioned like throwback to small town North America, small town USA kind of community. Our authors, we kind of have a variety, a varying level of faith. Some of our authors have a little bit more in it. Talk about, the characters may be going through some kind of faith journey and they have a little bit more in there. Some authors really just have characters who, go to church, and that's how they show their faith. It's kind of, what we absolutely don't look for in our books are kind of preachiness, and we're not looking for sermonizing. It's all very natural and inherent in the stories. It's just kind of like the world that these characters live in.
Yeah, I love that because I'm always so fascinated because I'm like, okay, in Love Inspired, you are balancing the romance and the faith element.
Mhm.
And if you get into Love Inspired suspense, you're adding the suspense element in there as well.
Yep.
But like I just love when it's like they're believers and the author's going to find ways to showcase that, but they're not hitting you over the head with that because the focus is on the two characters falling in love. They
Exactly.
just are also these believers, they
Right.
do have their beliefs. So, yeah, I'm always like, how do they do this? you know.
Our authors are amazing women, and like, I'm sure you've had plenty of them on your show. They can, what's funny is that, like, as an editor, I should be able to explain it. I just know it sometimes when I see it. It's hard for me. Sometimes it's just hard to explain, like, what exactly it is. But yeah, they do an amazing job. We have,
Yeah.
I'm really lucky. We have these women who live all over the country, and they write these wonderful, amazing books.
Well, the site shares some hooks that you all as editors would like to see more of. Some of them are stories with animals, which I'm like, okay, I need to hear you talk about this. Adoptions, and older heroes and heroines, which I do think readers are like, okay, we want something other than 20 somethings at this point, which I personally, I'm like, okay, they said 35 on the site. I'm 35. Yes, give me some more 35 and up heroines. So can you share with us why these are the hooks that you all are interested in? And if there's anything else that you're like, I read this recently and I was really excited about it. We want to see more of this.
Well, what I think is so funny is, so I'm in my early 50s, and I think I might be too old for the older heroes and heroines. You know what I mean? It's
You're
like,
not.
no, no, I'm kidding. Actually, I think we're just working on a book where the characters were like, yeah, they were like 50 or 51 or something, and they were like grandparents, and I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
right. I was like, "Oh gosh, I am old." Anyway, let's talk about animals first because, as we just discussed, for love inspired suspense, we have found that dogs are hugely popular with readers. So much so that they're having them in some of the other Harlequin category romances, like the lines, like they're popping up in Harlequin intrigue. I think they're popping up in Harlequin romantic suspense. I believe even Special Edition had a series last year, a couple of years ago, that was like focusing on dogs. We've actually, yeah, we're looking for books. And at first, so we've got this series, and it's really just kind of what we call a theme promotion, right? We'll put a fun tag on the front of the book. They're all different authors writing these stories. None of them are connected. So it's not a continuity, meaning connected stories, but they have dogs in common, right? And so I have been looking for stories that feature working dogs that are like service animals or emotionally support animals, search and rescue dogs. And then after a while, I was like, you know what? Like, even if they're pets, that are not working dogs that are like hugely important in the story, I take that too because um honestly, like, our readers just go gangbusters for them. So I want to see more with dogs. And if you have any other ideas for other kind of animals that might be of interest to readers, I'm open to that kind of thing too. Adoptions refer back to, so our readers love reading stories that feature children and babies, and we kind of have a few stories here and there about adoption and foster kids. And I would love to see more of that. I think it's something that would really be interesting to our readers. So we'd love to see that.
I always love
And
a found family story. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I have an author who doesn't write for us anymore. Whose name escapes me, but she had a whole series where it was this woman who, came back, was fixing up this old farmhouse in town, and she started like adopting and fostering all these kids, and then just became like, the next book was her sister was fostering, and then her brother and his story, and they were fostering kids, and it was amazing. It was an amazing story. Oh my gosh, my brain is not working. What was her name? Anyway, so, oh yeah, so older heroes and heroines. So, as you know, and every one of your readers know, your listeners know, so diversity is the big push, the big buzzword. We want diverse characters, and that diversity just means a whole host of different things. Doesn't just mean racial diversity. It can mean neurodivergent diversity. It
Oh,
can
yeah.
mean age diversity. It can mean size diversity. I'm open to all of that, not just age. But I know that a lot of our authors are, 40 or 50 or 60 plus, and sometimes their 20-something characters don't really seem like 20-something characters. So I was like, why not? Like, why not have different stories? Why is it always the first love? Why can't it be the second love, second chance at love stories? I would love to see that. And as someone, as I've said, who, I am single, never married, I'd love to see more stories about, someone who finally finds the one, that would give me hope.
Somebody
um,
listening needs to write this story because I would love that. Oh my gosh, I would love
Totally.
that.
Totally. We have also just recently, I feel like, so Amish stories are huge for Love Inspired.
Mhm.
And I believe it was Emma Miller, one of our top authors who writes Amish for us, had a heroine who was quote unquote full figured. And we actually put her on the cover. I forget when that book's coming out because we work so far ahead. It may be coming out in 2023, but I was so thrilled with that cover because it actually showed her like and it was an integral part of the story. It was one of those books, another trope that I love, where it's like the Cinderella, where she feels like she's not worthy. The rest of it, it's the beginning of this Seven Sisters series, and all of the rest of her sisters are gorgeous redheads, and she's kind of this like not dumpy, but not as pretty sister. And the really hot Amish guy farmer across the street, he has eyes for her,
I
and
love
and
that.
and she actually tries to be like, "No, no, you must mistake me for my sister, the hot one back there." And he's like, nuh-uh, it's you." And she's
Yeah.
like, "What?" You know how that
I know
goes.
which one I'm checking out, okay?
Love it. Love that stuff.
Well, are you ready to answer some round out questions?
Yes, absolutely. Hit me.
Okay. Tell us about well, we kinda touched on this earlier, so if you wanna get into specifics, I'd love to know. What do you enjoy reading when it's not for work?
Right. We sort of touched on this earlier. So, because my author Renee Ryan has been writing historical fiction, World War II historical fiction for Love Inspired Trade, I said to myself, I really should try to read some of the books in the genre. So I've been picking up a few books here and there. I'm actually I One of the things I love is like what if fiction. It's probably got a real name, but that's what I call it. So for me, it's like, what if the Allies did not win World War II? What if Hitler won World War II? And what happens in that
Yeah.
world? Right now, I'm reading this book called Widowland, and it's literally set in England. And England is part of the Allied German states, right? And it's totally Germanified. And I'm only in like the fourth or fifth chapter. It's crazy and mind blowing, and I cannot wait to read the rest. It's so cool.
So it's like this
And
alternate history?
yes, like it's an
Cool.
alternate
Okay.
history. Yeah, that's what it's called. Alternate
That is
history.
cool. I need to give some of this a try.
I'm telling you, it's so great. Yeah.
All right, what is one film or television show that you will never stop watching? I know you've been watching a lot of TV, so
Oh, I couldn't pick just one. I actually have 3 TV shows that
tell me all
I could
3.
just never give up. Okay, number 1, Gilmore Girls. I will watch Gilmore Girls on and off on TV. I have all the DVDs. I will watch them on and on Netflix. I know all of the shows by heart, all of the episodes. In fact, me and 3 of my coworkers once went to a Gilmore Girls trivia event. We did not win, sadly, because there are other even crazier Gilmore Girls fans out there. But that was the highlight of my Gilmore Girl fandom, I feel like. That was amazing.
Okay, so for
Um,
anybody that's yet because I've started it, I think I may be like 5 or 6 episodes into this first season. I have not made it
okay.
that
Oh,
far.
so you're
But,
like a
like,
newbie. Yeah.
I'm a newbie. I've never really just sat and watched it. So, for anyone that has not yet watched it, like in defense of Gilmore Girls, sell it to us because it is so beloved. And it's one of those shows that I don't know where I was when it was coming on TV. And everybody's like, it's so great. You have to watch it. But I'm like,
Mhm.
I feel like maybe the ship is passed. Like, but I want to know why everybody loves it so much. So, tell us what you love about it and then get into your other two because I need to know.
Okay. Well, so Gilmore Girls, as you know, is about Lorelai Gilmore, who got, she grew up in a wealthy family, got pregnant at 16, and ended up having her daughter Rory. And then they kind of broke away from their very rich family and kind of went to this crazy, quirky town, Stars Hollow, and made a life for themselves there. And then the beginning of the series is Lorelai needs her parents' help to pay for Rory. Rory is a super smart kid, and instead of sending her to the regular high school in Stars Hollow, they need
She's
money
going
to
to the
send her
private
to
school.
the private school. So that's how they start the series. I am big on, so Amy Sherman Palladino was the one who created this show, and I am all in for all of her crazy pop culture references and the fast talking. I just think it's super smart. And even though, sometimes when you watch or rewatch the shows, Lorelai can not always be someone you root for. She can be a little self-centered. But I love Rory and I love all the characters, and I love Stars Hollow. Like it cracks me up. Like the whole thing is just, and I feel like anyone you talk to who's a Gilmore Girls fan always has like, who's your favorite, Stars Hollow person and stuff. I happen to love not Miss Patty. Oh, Babette, their next door neighbor, Sally Struthers, who lives next door. It's hilarious. Did you get to the one? Did you get to the episode where they have to babysit the Miss Babette's cat, Cinnamon's
I don't
wake?
know.
Okay.
The most recent one that I remember watching was, I feel like somewhat, this is again still season 1, and it's
Yeah,
been a
yeah,
while
you're
since I watched
early.
it, but it's like I feel like someone died, and I just remember there being like
Oh, yeah.
this this was it somebody or something? I can't
No,
remember. I
no,
just
I
remember
it was, yes, that's the cat. The cat died.
the cat
Cinnamon's
died.
wake.
Okay. That was it. And
Yes.
there was like this get together and yeah.
Yes, yes. That's what I'm saying. Quirky. Cat's
Yes.
funeral. I mean,
But, like, there are literally, like, YouTube videos of, like, influencers reading Rory all the books that Rory Gilmore read on that show. I'm
no,
like, people are
that's a little
so dedicated.
excessive. I don't go that crazy. I'm crazy, but not that crazy. But I do love it, and if it's happens to be on TV, on like, because I'm one of the last people alive who has probably regular cable. So when I turn on cable and it's on one of the channels, I was like, ooh, and I immediately know which episode it is, and and literally I will watch. They have special episodes like the Christmas episodes, and they have this one great episode called "A Deep Fried Korean Thanksgiving." I won't go into details. You Gilmore Girls fans out there know what I'm talking about. I watch it every Thanksgiving because Rory and Lorelai celebrate Thanksgiving 4 times on one day. That's all
Oh,
I'll
I
say.
love that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's something about with the fall too, like, people are like, "Here's all the fall episodes of the Gilmore Girls," or just
Yeah.
like, "This is the season to watch it." So I'm like, "Okay, this may be the year that I finally sit down." I'm a horrible it takes me forever to watch seasons of television, so
Well, I
it's the thing.
mean, like they're hour episodes too. It's like which ends up being probably like 45 minutes or something, 50 minutes. But like, I honestly try to get through just watch the whole first season. Like, I don't say keep going because I think there are 7 seasons. I mean, personally, I think it's worth it. But I think in a nutshell, like the whole first season, it's worth it. Power through, Brie. You can do
Okay.
it. I know you can.
Alright, so what are your other 2? I need to know.
Okay. Number 2 is The Big Bang Theory. I remember
Okay.
watching the pilot when it first came out, and I was like, "Ugh, what is this? I can't stand it. I'm not gonna watch." And then I don't remember where I jumped back in now, and there are a million reruns all over the place, and you can watch it on HBO Max as well. I'm obsessed. I know all of the episodes. I've watched every episode, every season. It makes me laugh out loud when I watch. It's so well written and it's so well acted. I love it so
Yeah.
much. And number 3 is drum roll. It is the Golden Girls.
Okay.
Give me some Miami Nice, and I'm a happy girl. That's another thing that it makes me happy, especially during the pandemic. Like, it's just the 4 of them are hilarious. They make me laugh out loud. The writing is good. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something. And very often I will ask my friends, I was like, okay, which Golden Girl are you? Are you Blanche? Are you
I was
Dorothy?
about to
Are
ask
you,
you, like, which one are you? Which one?
my, okay. I like to think I am Dorothy, but my friends seem to think I am Blanche. So maybe a mix of the two. I don't think I'm as I don't spend that much time in the company of men like Blanche Devereaux does, but there you
And
go.
she's just so unapologetically, like, Southern and,
Love
like,
her.
sassy about it. I just
Yeah.
I
I aspire to be Blanche Devereaux, believe me.
yeah, it's so hard to pick one. I don't know. Like, it's like when people ask you, like, which Sex and the City character are you? And you're like, "I don't
Yeah,
know. I
yeah,
feel like I'm a little bit of everybody."
yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I don't think I could ever be I don't have any of the high I can't walk in high heels, so I could never be Carrie.
No.
That's for sure.
I wouldn't wanna walk in high heels as much as Carrie did, so
Oh my goodness. That's for sure.
well, you decide you want takeout for dinner tonight. Where are you ordering from, and what's your order?
Okay. It's funny. I've been living in this neighborhood in Astoria for like 25 years. And just in the last year or so, I guess ever since the pandemic happened, there have been a bunch of Mexican restaurants popping up, which has been amazing. So there's this place a block away from my house. They have amazing tacos. So I always get chicken tacos and these like fish tacos, and I'm a happy girl.
Oh, I love a taco. See, I live in San Antonio, so I feel
Oh, okay.
but
Oh,
I would love to my husband's from Brooklyn, and I'm always like, "Can you have to take me to your home? Like, I've never been there." And
mhm.
he's just like, "You're not ready for New York. You're gonna be a total tourist. People are gonna run over you." Like, "But
I
I
grew
wanna
up in
go."
Brooklyn. He's probably right. But yeah, Brooklyn, woo,
I'm like, "I
yes.
wanna go," and I don't know. I wanna try legit, like, New York pizza, I wanna eat some Chinese food, I wanna find out what a bodega is, I wanna, like, go his uncle has, like, a place on Fire Island, I'm like, "I wanna see what's up with this Fire Island," like, I want a New York experience.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. You need to go to a New York deli to get a pastrami sandwich, unless
Yes.
you're a vegetarian, which well, although
No.
you're from Texas, so probably not. And you need to have a New York bagel, right?
Yes.
Bagels are it. I don't know from Fire Island. That's never been my thing. I grew up in Brighton Beach in Brooklyn, like a block away from the boardwalk. So that was my parents weren't going to pay money to like rent a house in Fire Island. But yeah, you need come on. Look, you can come hang out with me. Like New York is where it's at.
I know.
Absolutely, you are
My
more than
best
welcome.
friend went for, like, New Year's Eve, and I'm like, "Who's taking pictures of you?" She's like, "Oh, I just stopped people." She's like, "I went by myself." And I'm like, "You went to New York City by yourself?" Like, it's gonna come down to me just having to go by myself because he refuses. He's like, "You're gonna get pushed over, you're gonna be looking up, and people are gonna be trying to walk." And I'm like, "It can't be that bad, is it?"
Not that bad. I think he's just looking out for your welfare, which is adorable. But yeah, like we will steer you away from the touristy places where people like will pickpocket you and take advantage of you.
Because that
We will
would be me. I'm all, like,
we will take
nice.
care of you, Brie. I promise.
Okay, so what is one of your favorite romance tropes to read?
I love angsty
Mhm.
heroes, right? Wounded heroes. Somebody who's like got all of this, like he's miserable and he lost this and he's lost stuff and he can't go on. And the heroine, shows up and it's like, ah, I found love again.
Is
Um,
this like a nod to your, like, start with historical romance, do you feel?
It must be for sure. Because
Mm.
where else would I have read that stuff? It's like all of these, Beauty and the Beast type heroes, right? Like all these beastie guys. And then what else? There's been so many. Like I haven't read a bunch lately. I haven't read a lot of contemporary romances that are not love inspired lately. But I do like rom commy stuff. Not like too commy, but like I don't know what I'm
Just,
saying.
like, the right amount like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I
I've been
mean.
seeing so much, like, lately where stuff is pitched as rom-com, but people are actually making up a term called rom-trom. They're like,
Mm.
there's more trauma than, like, comedy in there at all. But, like, I don't need you to try to be too comedic, like, just find ways to show me that you appreciate like funny dialogue or something. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't need it to be like over the top.
Well, and also I think I've mentioned before, I really go for like those Cinderella stories, right? Like
Mhm.
I remember, oh my goodness, there was it's an ancient Susan Wiggs book called The Ugly Duckling, I think, or the Ugly something, where it literally was like, she gets, oh my god, I can't remember what the story was, but I just remember the heroine one of those transformation stories where she thinks she's ugly. They put her in this beautiful dress and they kind of like build her up, and it's like it's the best because that's isn't that what we want, is someone to like put a pretty dress on us and a tiara and find
Yeah.
Prince Charming. I mean, honestly.
Well, what is one hill that you will wholeheartedly die on?
Oh my. As a grammar geek, I come by it honestly. I have to. What's funny is I am hugely in favor of the Oxford comma. Right, hugely in favor of it. I feel like, we've all seen those, like, don't feed grandma, or like don't, or like all of the mugs and the things that have that on there. However, what's ironic is the grammar style that the copy editors use for Harlequin. We do not include the Oxford comma. So it really is a very weird catch 22 where I have to remember not to use it when we're editing, but in real life it just needs to be there, and
Yeah.
I will die on that hill for sure.
I have friends who like that is their like Instagram or Facebook profile bio. Like
Oh
people
my
really
god,
believe in this.
actually, can I just tell you, this is how I separate the wheat from the chaff when I go on dating apps, right? Like Bumble or Tinder or something. I literally have put in, I think right now in my Bumble profile, if you, bonus points if you know what the Oxford comma is. And it's such a conversation starter because I'm looking for guys who are literate, who
I
can put
love
two
that.
words together.
Yes, yes.
And guys have actually said to me, like, they've messaged me and be like, I don't know what an Oxford comma is, but I'll go look it up. I'm
I
like,
wish you would have Googled it before you messaged me, right?
totally, totally.
I love that you are on that hill. Okay, stay on that hill.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, are there any, and this may be all of them, but are there any love inspired titles you've worked on recently that our listeners should be on the lookout for?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Well, so this podcast is probably coming out soon, and so every year, I would say September, October, November books, we put out a ton of Christmas stuff, and it's like, Amish Christmas stories and just Christmas everything, Christmas in the titles and holidays, and our readers love it. So I would absolutely be on the lookout for some of our top authors, such as Vanetta Chapman, and Emma Miller, who are starting off new miniseries in, I think, November or December. Top author for us, and she writes for HQN Books, Lee Tobin McLean. She'll have a new book coming
Yes.
out. And then I am sad to report that one of our hugely popular authors who writes Amish for us, Patricia Davids, um, she has decided to retire. And so her last book for us will be coming out in November, called Christmas on His Doorstep. Be sure to pick that up. It's kind of probably end up being a collector's item.
Yeah.
She's just, she's getting up there in years, and she's really decided she just wants to take time for herself and her children and her grandchildren. And we've said to her, if you ever want to come and write, special projects for us, please do. But, we respect your decision. I have to say, I'm a little sad. Her books are so wonderful. Oh, and also, we have this amazing book that's coming out. I feel like it's in October of this year. Zoe Marie Jackson. Her book's called The Christmas Switch. And it's basically a book. It's about these twins, African American twins, and it's kind of a sister sister meets Parent Trap.
Oh
So
my gosh.
these sisters meet in school, and they find out that they actually are sisters that they didn't know about, and they were split up at birth. One is with the father, one is with the mother, and of course they're matchmaking to get them back together again, their parents. The cover is adorable. These two little girls, I feel like, what are they, 5 or 6 or 7 or something, kind of like playing around a little tree. It's
I've
fabulous. The
seen that
writing.
one. Yes.
Have
Yes, it's
you? Yes.
adorable. Yes.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited about it.
Well, where can everyone keep up with information about Love Inspired and you all as editors online?
Absolutely. So if you go to loveinspired.com, you will have all the information about all the books that we put out every month. I am on Twitter at Melissa Endlich, and all of the rest of the team is there too. So our executive editor, Tina James, you can find her on Twitter. Our editors, Emily Rodmill and Shana Asaro. Emily, as a matter of fact, has an amazing Twitter account, and you should be following her if you're not. She puts out all kinds of information every day about stuff. And I believe she's got an editor account on Facebook where she also answers questions and puts out information about our books and about writing and publishing in general. So I would follow her there. Me and Emily and two other editors, somebody you've already had on the show, Susan Littman, and Allison Lyons, who works on Harlequin Intrigue, we have a joint Instagram
The
account.
Instagram, okay.
hmm NYC underscore editor underscore life, I believe. Now, full disclosure, I have not posted on that account in quite a while. I feel like since the pandemic, it's a little dicey, but Emily does keep up with that. And we have some cute photos on there and stuff. So check us out on Instagram.
Editors in the wild. I love
That is
it.
us.
Well, I will make sure all of that is listed below. Thank you so much, Melissa, for hanging out with me today. I needed this chat and these laughs. It was just so much fun. So thank you. You'll have to come back. I will
I,
find a reason to need to talk to you again, okay?
Thank you. This was amazing. Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled and happy to have been your guest today.